What's up, everybody? I'm James. Welcome to Mechanical Mayhem, and welcome to the Mechwarrior 5 Clans story-driven campaign playthrough, where we look at all the cutscenes, hear all the dialogue, and go over what's going on story-wise in the game, utilizing stock mechs only, which can include the hero Omnipod set. We just cannot make any customized changes to the loadouts as they're presented to us. So, we are on part 25. Courchevel is a long arc overall that encompasses what I call two acts. And we are just starting that second act now after the events of Mountain Maze, which has left our star wounded and a little devastated, right? We have to remember our star outside of Naomi was comprised fully of our Sibco. And Sibco is as close as most Trooper Wars will ever get to a family. So we just lost a brother in arms, and quite literally, more or less, a brother. And that's a big deal for a star like this. So let's see how we press on. Strap in and prepare for drop. Alright, here we go. Inspection duty.
Star Commander Jaden, give me a sit rep on the status of Courchevel.
Star Colonel. In the 6 months since our leadership returned to the homeworlds, we have pacified and dismantled the planetary militia. Since then, things have been relatively quiet. Comstar continues its administration of the civilian population, while Zeta Galaxy now manages the in-system garrison.
And what of you and the rest of the 362nd?
What else? We continue to repair and maintain our equipment and train for the eventual return of the Armada.
Train, but nothing else. Quiff?
Af?
Then it is high time you assist Zeta with some of their administration duties. Your star is to perform a routine inspection on all outbound civilian dropship traffic.
Is there anything particular of note we should be aware of, Star Colonel?
Neg, we are all impatiently awaiting the resumption of our invasion, Star Commander. Regardless of the 362nd's frontline status, we all need to share the load until the fleet's return. That includes you and Cobalt Star. Understood?
Af.
Good. I will leave the inspection in your capable hands, Star Commander.
So definitely some tension there, as you'd expect because of Edo. But all things considered, I feel it makes some sort of sense, truth be told, in regards to, hey, we got to share the load. The 362nd and Cobalt Star, as a part of that, are frontline status units. So garrison and typical duties like that don't typically follow them, but there is no active invasion going. So I see the logic in this. Obviously, the idea is to set up tension between Perez and your star, especially because of the events of Edo. As you can see, Courchevel's map is refreshed. So this is the second act on Courchevel. I refer to each kind of complete planetary map, if you will. That's not so much a map, but where you do all the missions as like an act. So Santander was one act of its own accord. Turtle Bay was an act as well. Then we got the Courchevel Part 1, and now we're in Courchevel Part 2, more or less. So we do spend a lot of time on Courchevel. It makes sense according to the lore and force disposition of the time, but I can definitely see where people might be like, been cool to see another planet, but we kind of do almost, as you'll see as we go through the second part of Courchevel. We're going to see parts we've never seen before. I do like the banter here. The reason I like it is it's very human, and we have to remember that the Trueborn of the clans are not like Astartes of 40k for, the Space Marines of 40k or anything like that. They're, genetically engineered to a degree, right? And they are part of the whole, artificial gestation and everything else. But they're people still, nonetheless. They're not anything above being a human in terms of feelings and needs and quirks and whatnot. So I like that they kind of established that. this is an interesting setup. We have like a really big door, which would imply things for like massive tracked vehicles and supplies, or even kind of like I don't know, towing rigs or whatever, on like a dirt road. And then we have a standardized road for regular vehicles to go in and out. So it's interesting that this is a routine inspection because the starport doesn't know about it. So I guess it's routine in that we've done this before, but it's not like a scheduled thing like every Tuesday, which makes a lot of sense, right? If you were going to inspect a starport and stuff in there, you're not going to want them to know your schedule for that because they could easily, if they were doing smuggling work, just plan accordingly. So, it makes total sense. So now we see a little bit of tension in Cobalt Star. Yuichi is part of our star. We were down a star mate because we lost Liam. And so before they departed for the homeworlds, Star Colonel Wimmer sanctioned the adoption of Yuichi herself into our star. So he's no longer a bondsman, but he is a bondsman, but he's not like, I guess what I'm trying to say is he's been adopted as a member of the warrior caste despite being a freeborn. So his bonds cord isn't really like binding him as a serf, if you will, in that capacity. He is in essence adopted into the clan now. This is a way of it amongst the clans. Period. Typically amongst trueborn warriors, but Yuichi is now a member of our warrior caste and has benefits of being a part of the warrior caste and not just a bondsman. He can challenge or he can respond to things with a challenge to a degree within his station. But as is true with the especially Clan Smoke Jaguar's way, freeborn warriors are looked down upon, especially in certain clans like Clan Smoke Jaguar, which is why Mia is doubly upset because Liam's gone. Part of your kin, your family, more or less, from your Sibco, and then we have this freeborn warrior now in our star. So she is. I'm not saying rightly upset because I guess people and respect and whatever else is what we would find normal, and this would be kind of alien to us. But between losing Liam not even 6 months ago to a freeborn warrior, which has never really happened in Smoke Jaguar in a while, being a part of her ranks, and now we're on this garrison duty type of situation, I understand where she's coming from. We can hear that there's a Gazelle dropship being very, very antsy, and we can see that how the Union dropships are stored. We have one on the I don't know if you call it a flight deck, a gantry or whatever, that is cleared for takeoff because we inspected it. Now you don't have to do what I'm doing. I just really like the visuals of this. It's quite a big smoke screen, and then we see the dropship go off. And now I'm not going to try and keep it on camera forever, but it is a pretty decent height to that thing going before it's gonna not be seen anymore. I just like the detail in that, if you will. So Mia's looking different. She has neural implants. She's a lot more focused. Her situation in the circle of equals with Wimmer really affected her, and of course the death of Liam. So we're approaching Gazelle 319. We fought off a Gazelle, remember, so this is not a new style of dropship for us to see. It's pretty cool how we fought one that became a gunship, so we get to approach one and see it not in the sky, and that's pretty all right. So I do wonder if Perez had any intel for why he put us specifically in here, but it could just be purely coincidence. I want to know what kind of missile that was because it took it down in one shot. I like how Perez is, trying to berate us for infrastructure despite having ordered the destruction of an entire city. But I guess the difference here is that this is entirely under clan occupation, and we're still pacifying Edo and Turtle Bay. In any case, I haven't really said much about our composition. We have several Warhawks. We have a Gargoyle and a Timberwolf. The Gargoyle is not in his prime configuration. And we have the Hero Warhawk with us. I'm in the prime, and I believe Yuichi's in one of the alternates as well. So, clearly we start off the Hornet's Nest because we dismantled the militia force. So this is clearly somebody else. And looks like they don't like... Well, that's a crazy flying tank if you ever saw one. But it looks like they don't like what we've been doing, which is taking out that Gazelle. So we are approaching the city area near the spaceport. And what I really like about this is that this is fully clan property. So we are not wanting to destroy infrastructure. And I guess for people newer to the whole Innisphere versus clan viewpoints and ways of doing things and seeing the destruction of Edo, which was a regrettable and unfortunate act that Smoke Jaguar did not sanction but would haunt Smoke Jaguar, so you might be a little bit confused, but the clan don't like, none of the clans like destroying infrastructure, so whenever plausible, they try to avoid it. That's why they try to issue patrols and have fighting happen outside of cities. And if you played Mercenaries, Mechwarrior 5 Mercenaries, for example, you've probably noticed a lot of missions that take place in and amongst urban centers and cities and vital infrastructure, and the clans do try to avoid that whenever possible in most circumstances. So we have no idea who these enemy forces are, but we just saw some leopards come in. It makes you wonder a little bit, like, how much of this was smuggled in over the 6 months versus how much was us in hiding. And I don't think it matters that it's clan or inner sphere. I think whoever would have conquered this world in a situation like this might have encountered similar resistance. So we have decent weight thrown on us now. Like, we had the beginning of the mission was kind of slow. We're doing some inspection detail, but we do have now. We had several vehicles to kind of start things off, and now we have we had a Jaeger mech, we got a Warhammer, there's a Hunchback. Hunchbacks are going to be kind of prevalent. They're pretty decent if they get within their firepower range. We just got an engine kill there. There's a Thunderbolt. Thunderbolts are kind of tanky as well. We got Yuichi over there hitting it with a flamer, which I appreciate. It lowers the amount of shooting it can do, which is why it's trying to run the melee. Now, whenever I take on a Hunchback, what I like to do is take out the right torso. That's typically where you're going to see the big gun. Most of its variants packs a lot of its firepower in the right torso. And even on the ones that kind of disperse it, you're still really hampering it by going for that right torso. So it's not always about getting the center torso kill right off the bat. Sometimes you just want to cripple them. And for Hunchbacks specifically, that right torso is going to cripple them pretty much every time. So once you take that out, you can not necessarily ignore them, because a small laser can still take down a mech and they can still melee if they have their other arm. But once you clip their wings, so to speak, insofar as destroying that right torso, you can then have your star focus on a whole other mech or do whatever and not worry too much about the Hunchback. I do like the city design, the infrastructure look of this place. I've always enjoyed the way the games handle the cities, in all the different graphical capabilities throughout the years. I think they've done a very good job. So I try to get them to take on the Hunchback, and then I kind of just drop down here. I'm like, okay. So right now, the moment you see the weapon written in red is the moment you know you basically got it. You don't have to necessarily outright destroy the right torso, but once you get typically their medium lasers, if they're over there all red, or the autocannon 20 red, you've really crippled that Hunchback. Anyways, we are making our way towards the Gazelle. Because we got to figure out why it was running. What I like about this is we're seeing a center, a cityscape, a spaceport amongst Courchevel, where typically we only really saw military stuff or just the terrain, right? We saw things on the outskirts, like a little shipping center, like literal for naval vessels in one mission. But I just like seeing different spots of a planet, because the planet's a big place, all things considered, right? So the fact that they can have us on Courchevel but have it really feel different from where we've been is cool, right? And it makes a lot of sense because, I mean, think of Earth. You could have different biomes, as it were, for different parts of a campaign there, theoretically, right? So I like the setup for it. So we have Zeus. This is an assault mech. And we have an Orion. We have a Marauder. These are, we're getting tonnage here. We're getting tonnage. As you can see, there's an ammo crate. So if you are using more ammunition heavy build for yourself or across your star, you can go a little crazy and see you can get a resupply for the rest of the mission there, which is appreciated for the game. So what we got going on now is basically a little bit of getting our ammo and a little bit of figuring out what the heck is in this Gazelle. I like the setup. I like the look of it being downed. Clearly, there's a problem. So there's a dragon, and now we just figured out the ultimate problem. That dropship is full of clan equipment, clan technology. Now, if you're wondering why is this such a big deal, and there's a charger, by the way, with its small lasers. It's what the charger lacks in outright firepower. It typically makes up with speed and armor if it wasn't facing clan tech. But there you go. And there's an awesome, not in the most awesome configuration, but I think I just got a cockpit kill there as the engine kill goes up on that charger. And there's an archer. So what we see here is clan equipment. And if you're wondering what's the big deal, we lost Wolcott, and they got, in addition to any spoils of war from salvage, they were given equipment, right? That was part of the conditions that if the Draconis come by win on Wolcott. So why are we caring about this? Well, it's our equipment. Our equipment is and always will be superior technology in comparison to the Inner Sphere, and the more they have, the more they can use against us. Not even reverse engineer, which of course is going to be part of the thing as well. The reason why the Inner Sphere will have Omnimechs is because they have looked at clan Omnimech stuff. But right now, the only way that we're going to find clan equipment used against us is from salvage or from getting their hands on it like this. So every piece of tech, every chassis you deny them is one less they could potentially throw against us. So it still matters, even though they have their hands on technology of the clans already, just due to the attrition of war and the special circumstances of Wolcott. And it's not just in the Smoke Jaguar corridor, that's across all corridors, in terms of, spoils of war and being able to salvage and do whatever else. So it's not like they're never going to have clan tech, but the idea is to limit it as much as possible. So that's an Atlas. Always worth focus firing on the Atlas. They take a pretty good beating. I'll give them that. We don't want to get too close to one of those. And it's a pretty decent tactic on their part. Yeah, we focus fired it down pretty quick, but the rest of that lance was able to basically maneuver uncontested. And there's a stalker in that lance. There's a marauder. So we know we have some firepower being thrown against us, even though we took down that Atlas. So the Atlas itself is no joke either if it gets close enough. Now we got some VTOLs. So this mission starts off slow, but if you aren't careful, if you don't maximize your range against your forces, you're going to be in for a fight, for sure. And even doing that, we're taking hits. We are stock loadout. So if you're doing custom builds, you can be definitely a bit more powerful and tanky. But even still, this is a lot of tonnage thrown at us. And this signifies that these smugglers, whoever they are really desperate or determined to get the Gazelle, even though we trashed it and probably damaged a bunch of the contents or destroyed some on the inside. They really want this clan tech, and I don't blame them. So, thankfully, we have a nice pool of water here, as you've been seeing. So, if you want to use a spicy build, the beginning combat sections might be a little bit tense for you because you're going to have to manage heat better. But you can go super energy heavy, super heat intensive, because this whole final section you can just maximize your ability to stay in the water and just go to town, which is going to really, cut through the thin armor of a rifleman and let us take out everything pretty effectively. The Warhawk Prime is such a good stock build that I love using it. So there's an awesome in the awesome configuration, 3 PPCs and a small laser. While they're not ER PPCs, they're still PPCs, and that's going to hurt. So we don't want to get too close. As far as attacking the awesome, I just go for center torso. Yeah, each side torso and an arm has a PPC, but if you take them out, just spin the center torso will be fine. And that's the mission. I like this mission. It's a different take on looking at Courchevel, and we start getting a feeling for what's going on during this lull period, right? It's not literally just sitting still. There's stuff going on, and in the lore, this is all written about. I will say, I do feel like we do get a bit of a different take on things like Ezra's, thought process a little bit here. He definitely got a little whinier after the loss of Liam. It feels like, at least to me. But we have Yuichi, who is no slouch of a pilot, honestly, and we also got our next honor level, so we're able to make use of that.
That mission was a mess. Explain yourself.
Star Colonel, our sensors flagged clan military technology on that Gazelle. When it attempted to flee, I made the call to shoot the craft down. The responsibility is mine and mine alone.
You did the right thing, given the circumstances. Had it not been for your quick thinking, they might as well have escaped with samples of our superior technology.
Has the ISF returned?
Unknown at this time. But with those unidentified battle mechs defending that wrecked craft, you may be right.
The thing I do not understand is, why now? We have been without blood-named warriors for over 6 months and there has been no trouble. Not since the planetary militia fell.
It will be up to us to find out. It is likely that the ISF lay dormant, waiting for us to let our guard down. Your vigilance today saved our military secrets from being captured by the enemy. This time, their emergence here may be a precursor to something bigger.
Yes, Star Colonel.
2 objectives lay before us. We must find and destroy whoever commands these mystery battle mechs. And we must uncover how these smugglers acquired our technology in the first place. The Watch has provided us with some possible targets. But some of their intel may be out of date. Review them, and follow up on the most promising leads.
I will, Star Colonel.
The clan fleet is still months away from returning from the homeworlds. Courchevel will be fully secure by the time of their arrival. If we do not identify and excise this rot quickly, then we will need to take more drastic action before our invasion can resume.
Aft, Star Colonel.
Half Star Colonel.
That is, not an idle, I don't want to say threat. That's not an idle statement, as we know from Edo when it comes to Perez. So we unlock the Executioner, which includes a hero mech. And, we are trying to hunt down whoever this is before the clan invasion armada returns. And with Perez leading the charge, we can be expected to potentially carry out some pretty extreme operations, which is not necessarily a good thing. But at the end of the day, he is in operational command, and there's not much you can do about that. So I will be utilizing the hero mech for Naomi as fire support. Now, with that said, always check your experience for your pilots. I'm building up for Evasion 5 for Yuichi because he's pretty stacked otherwise, and then we just see what we can do for the rest of the pilots. A whole different arc. We went from invading to now we're trying to hunt down forces. This is something that isn't unknown to the clans, but it's just a different take for the Operation Revival campaign that we've been having thus far. And it is part of the lore of what's going down. So we are trying to take out whoever these smugglers may be. And it's interesting that we still have Demi Presenter around, Never Trust Comstar, and we will be taking on whatever we can, in terms of the forces, in order to figure out who we're going to be dealing with and to keep Courchevel ready to go invasion-wise, right? We don't want the invasion to falter. We want to, when everybody returns, that we just go for it. So that's the idea here. That's what Perez is doing, and Perez is pretty driven because of Edo. He is pariahed. He's the only one of the few blood name warriors here, and if not one of the only, and is looking to prove himself at this point. And a cornered beast is going to be very dangerous. You know what I mean? So we don't want to take him lightly. I'm just doing some merit point expenditure, and we'll call it a mission. So thanks so much for tuning in and stopping by. We will see what actions we have to take in the following missions. Until next time, take care.